Hi everybody, welcome to Jin's Wall Street News. The Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller delivered remarks on Wednesday, quote, "If the outlook evolves as I have described here, I will support continuing to cut our policy rate in 2025, unquote. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the number of Americans claiming unemployment benefits decreased from 211,000 to 201,000 in the week ending January 4th. U.S. government sold 30-year bonds at 4.913%, 0.7 basis points lower than the WI level at the time of the auction, 4.92%. 10-year Treasury yield falls to 4.67% after topping almost 4.73%. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 rose 0.16%, while the Nasdaq Composite inched down 0.06% Wednesday. The Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller delivered a speech on Wednesday. For the U.S. economy, he said, quote, "I continue to believe that the U.S. economy is on a solid footing. I have seen nothing in the data or forecasts that suggests the labor market will dramatically weaken over the coming months. With regard to inflation, I believe that inflation will continue to make progress toward our 2% goal over the medium term and that further reductions will be appropriate. When it comes to the monetary policy," he said, quote, "If the outlook evolves as I have described here, I will support continuing to cut our policy rate in 2025. My bottom line message is that I believe more cuts will be appropriate," unquote. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the number of Americans claiming unemployment benefits decreased from 211,000 to 201,000 in the week ending January 4th. However, the number of Americans receiving benefits after an initial week of aid increased from 1,834,000 to 1,867,000 in the week ending December 28th. The number of the initial jobless claims peaked at 260,000 in the first week of October, then it fell to 213,000 in the week ending November 23rd. The number rebounded in early December, but it dropped to 201,000 last week. It's really a good move. The number of the continuing jobless claims increased from 1.83 million to 1.87 million in the week ending December 28th, but is still below the November peak at 1.91 million. The U.S. government sold $22 billion of 30-year bonds at 4.913%, 0.7 basis points lower than the WI level at the time of the auction, 4.92%. The bid to cover was 2.52x, above the 6-month average of 2.42x. 10-year Treasury yield had risen as the Richmond Fed President Tom Berkin said, quote, "My baseline outlook is positive. I expect more upside than downside in terms of growth," unquote. Then the yield jumped on Tuesday as the ISM Services PMI came in stronger than expected, and the number of the job openings also rose to 8.1 million in November. The yield topped almost 4.73%, then it falls to 4.67% as the Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller said, quote, "My bottom line message is that I believe more cuts will be appropriate," unquote. For the US stocks, S&P 500 rose 0.16% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 0.25%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq inched down 0.06% Wednesday. Many of the US stocks in the S&P 500 rose as 10-year Treasury yield fell on Wednesday, except for some big tech stocks such as shares of Alphabet falling 0.67% and Meta stock losing 1.16%. Most of the US chip stocks also struggled on Wednesday. Okay, this is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching, and I would like to honor the late former President Jimmy Carter.